right, and here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Cloud Kingdom, we have our red Zerg player from Team Acer. It's none other than Nerchio, guy who's been doing extremely well, not just in online events, but also offline lands too. His opponent down in the bottom left-hand corner from Mouse Sports is our German Protos player, HasuObs.
I think it's going to be pretty exciting here. ZVP's an awesome matchup. I love Cloud Kingdom, and I love European strategies, man. We got Germany versus Poland here. Who's it going to be? We're going to have to wait and see.
You know, just like 48,000 World War II jokes just broke out inside of chat after that, but I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, Nerchio not doing anything out of the ordinary, has a pylon going up at the front, going to do some sort of a Forge Fast expand. A lot of Protoss players have been going for Nexus first on this map. It's not too bad to try and pull it off. You only need a couple of structures here to be able to wall this off pretty effectively.
Sorry, I just got my breath back from that like 30-second silent laugh because I didn't really want to. Anyhow, ZVP, as you were just discussing, it is going to be a Forge Fast expand out of HasuObs, guys. Pretty conventional stuff here, honestly. One of the interesting developments we've been seeing lately, though, is looking at when Protoss opt to take those thirds. This is a map kind of like Daybreak, where you can actually secure it pretty quickly, which is funny because Daybreak used to be the map. Of course, talking about a different map here, but you looked at it, originally it was like, this is the map where Protoss can never take their thirds because of the 12-minute max roach play. And then all of a sudden you realized, actually, if I go really early, it works out fantastic. Yeah. So all these Protoss have started taking it. And we're seeing the same thing happen on Cloud Kingdom, in all honesty. It's not too hard to defend on. So we will be keeping an eye on HasuObs to see if he gets pretty greedy in that macro department.
And there's the Nexus first. It is still a little bit tougher to take a third base than on maps, say, like Ohana, or maps like Metropolis, or even Entomb Valley, for example, because you have the nice destructible rocks that are closing off the path, because there's only one little ramp that actually leads up there. It's a little more difficult. As you can see here on Cloud Kingdom, you've got this big open space here, you've got a big space there, so mostly what you're concerned about is taking that early third, dropping a couple photon cannons, and maybe trying to wall in that Nexus just a bit with a few additional gateways. You know, I'd come to think in some series that we've seen, Kevin, the Protoss army can simply be pulled apart by pressure into the natural and into the third. So that's actually a great point that, it was something that a lot of players were doing, but I think it's phasing out as Zergs have really figured out how to abuse players that do opt to go for those thirds by simply, how many times have you seen the Colossi just get picked off as they're trying to run back to defend the natural or just be stranded? Now, this is a map, though, where Zerg players have been able to respond to greed in kinds, where they'll go up to not just 3, but potentially 4 quick bases and just power ahead towards that really late-game tech, because there's a lot of great areas to utilize Broodlord and Fester compositions. Up here on the top of these ramps where you can pin down units trying to run through this choke with fungal growth, and you sit up and outrange the units with the Broodlords. Over these paths, very commonly in super late game, as a few Zerglings are actually getting in here, and they're doing some pretty good work to this pylon. I want to see if HasuObs actually sits there. Yeah, he's going to take the loss of a couple of Lings, gets a pylon for his efforts. I will certainly trade 50 minerals for 100 and a hole in your wall. Oh, you are going to be frightened for a moment here. So we do see a Zealot being produced just to ensure safety. The probe is going to arrive at the hatchery. We'll see if, he just swings around to the left. And always love seeing if the probe gets spotted by the Overlord positioning here. And it looks like, even HasuObs, luckily, though, doesn't stop the probe. So he's going to know that he was spotted and try to get out of there. Okay, well, we'll see here as the third base is about halfway done now for Nerchio, and this probe is making its way out of there, being chased down by Zerglings, but of course without speed, they're a little bit too slow to completely kill the probe before it makes its way back in. So on HasuObs' side, though, nothing is too out of the ordinary. He's got double gas coming in at a pretty good rate. A good indicator as to what's going to happen is when he takes his +1 weapons, which he has not decided to do quite yet, making a bit more gas, and when he takes his 3rd and 4th gas. If he actually bypasses +1 weapons and takes 3rd and 4th gas, we're going to see some sort of huge tech come out. If he decides to take +1 weapons and a quick 3rd and 4th, it can be a cross of kind of tech and aggression, and if he just waits on everything, well, we may just be looking at a big gateway push in Robo. Yeah, huge quantity of options still existing for the Protoss player. Nerchio, on the other hand, has grabbed his 3rd and it is completed. He's getting his extractors at his main only at this point. Nothing in the natural or 3rd yet, but he does have all his queens on the field, and he's starting to spread that creep, which is something I really, really like. With the multiple attack angles that you have at your 3rd on Cloud Kingdom, it's very important to have vision on all fronts, because you do not want to be caught off guard by, say, there's a couple of stalkers poking at the front, and just being a general harassment, and you leave to go deal with them. You can have a huge army swing in the back. Suddenly you're out of position. It's pretty dangerous. So I like that Nerchio is really working on that creep spread pretty quick here and prioritizing it. And Nerchio did decide to go for his gas a little bit earlier, though. which I'm a bit surprised. Usually you'll see players take it about the 35 drone mark. Excuse me, he actually started his at the 27 drone mark, so a little bit earlier on. And obviously getting himself a little bit earlier layer, which is coming up at his third. Now, of course, this is going to be a bit more exposed, but it does give a few extra hit points to this hatchery and draws it as a target, so players won't maybe duck into the main when they have the opportunity. Back on HasuObs' side, though, pretty much what we had talked about before. He waited on +1. He decided to wait on his third and fourth gas, and thus he's going for that robo play. We already see one Immortal popping out, and this could very easily turn into just a big 3 Immortal push.
That was a super convenient force field. But yeah, the possibility of a push from HasuObs is imminent. Nerchio, I'm a little surprised to not see that he got speed. Something that you typically see when you see the super fast gas. It looks like, oh, okay, there it does start up, in fact. He just opted to start it a lot later. Wanted to make sure he got that Roach Warren down and didn't sacrifice his drone count at all. Because he had enough gas for a long time now, but I want to make sure he didn't waste those minerals. But here are the gateways now for HasuObs, possibly gearing up for that attack you were talking about, Kevin. We will have to wait and see. It looks like there is a probe possibly headed around the right-hand side of the map. No, in fact, that's just a Stalker going to chase away the Zelnaga tower for now.
Just a bit. Zealot, though, in a very nice spot. I love just little things that players do to make sure that they're going a little bit better. And I just want to confirm it is, in fact, a 7-gate 3 Immortal push that's coming out here. So Nerchio is going to need to be on his guard very soon, and he's actually going after a Spire. But what I was talking about is putting the Zealot back in the corner. If Zergling's trying to wrest back control of the Zelnaga tower, that Zealot's already in perfect position to deal the most damage and be the most cost-effective against any units that pop out against it.
Zergling's going to be heading out across the map right now. They are not in view of HasuObs, so he has no idea that these are here. And his Stalker is still continuing to patrol. It's just on the wrong side of the map right now. But here, Nerchio is going to see the lag of a third is worth the 9.5-minute mark. No, it's no big deal. You know, the 10:30 to 11-minute third is perfectly acceptable as a Protoss. But, you know, it is going to put him on his guard. You see his immediate response, queue up 10 more links, and he's got a lot of Overlords popping out. So if needed, he can make a quick set of roaches. But there you go, Kevin. Talking about that Zealot positioning, I mean, yep.
There it is.
A nice shrug. Yep. Like, that's exactly what I was talking about, but it really was. And now look, Nerchio's going to recommit to this, and I mean, that is a very cost-effective Zealot. Yeah, see how many kills it had?
4. I think he got right at the very end. Now, Nerchio's trying to double expand. He's going to his 4th, he's going to his 5th base, and he's finishing up his Spire at this second. So that was the purpose of all the early gas. That was the purpose of being a little bit more aggressive as far as tech went. And he sees this army charging across the map, so he immediately cancels this drone, so he knows he has enough resources to continue pumping out units. Unfortunately for him, not being able to take advantage of that early Spire, because now he just has to make units to defend, because this force could very well kill him if he doesn't have a perfect response ready.
Yeah, it is a... Oh, Zergling's coming in from the back. Nice force field's going to go down for HasuObs. Nerchio knows the position of his opponent's army. Notice how he's leaving the Zerglings in the back so he can attack from all angles simultaneously, because he is going to need a very good engagement here. You can see he's already abandoning the third and his lair here. Burrow is not being researched, however, at this hatchery. It's at another one, so that's not going to be a thing that he has to worry about for this moment. Starts up a new layer already at one of his other expansions, and he's re-expanding down to the bottom right, so he's going to sacrifice this base for now, and he's just going to let the damage be and try to get an army that can deal with this.
Well, can he get an army that can deal with this? Looks like he's going to flank from 3 sides, and that's not a bad engagement, but the force fields from HasuObs have been pretty effective. It neutralizes most of the Zerglings, keeps this group of roaches at bay to the left, and allows him to isolate the roaches off to the right. So he does an effective job so far of continuing his damage. Warp Prism's still up at the top here, still warping in units, and really, Nerchio just has to, I'm sorry, HasuObs just has to kill another base, and this has been 100% worth it.
You know, how much energy is left on these sentries if we take a look at them? Because it looks like they're getting pretty low. I'm actually liking this position for Nerchio right now. He didn't sustain any real damage. He lost his lair, yes. All right, not the greatest thing in the world. Now, if he loses this base, things are going to be significantly more balanced because he would have been on 4 bases. Now, it looks like this hatchery is going to go down, but notice, we're going to see behind this, HasuObs is going to pull back. He's going to say, all right, I killed a lot of your bases. He's not going to be able to take a third, Kevin, because there's an Overlord that has a significant amount of creep drop down there. So, I mean, HasuObs is still going to be pinned on 3 bases, and if he tries to push to do any additional damage here, he could be posed to lose his army, possibly.
I don't know if HasuObs realizes he needs some anti-air, and he needs it in a hurry. 10 mutas just popped out. It's actually going to be a total of 12 when they're all done. Now, of course, Nerchio is down a couple of bases, but he did resaturate this one off to the bottom right-hand corner. With the Twilight Council coming up. Yeah, it immediately prompts a response of Stalkers, and I would imagine that the next 150 gas is going to go to Blink here in a bit. Even though it's a long warping time, he's going to need to start that very, very soon. Nice job actually picking off one of the Mutalisks as he continues to charge up and segregate this army, and we'll see if he has what it takes to push on through.
Well, this is a very dangerous position for Nerchio, though. It's very narrow, and he keeps letting roaches get picked off over and over again. There's not much he can do about it. He has his entire army in one clump. We were talking earlier about how, you know, he had that beautiful surround set up, but with the heads up, yeah, he's just going to grat and say, I cannot beat this army. You're in too narrow of a position.
All right, well, that's game number 1 in the bag. Nerchio going down, and the 2 base 3 immortal push from HasuObs proving to be very effective. It's something that Zerg players everywhere are really having to look out for.
Yeah, that was just so difficult for Nerchio to handle appropriately. It was a very delicate situation. He had the units to deal with the army that he was staring down there, but honestly, HasuObs did a really good job of keeping Nerchio. He's like, look, if you don't stay, you keep your army right here. If you split it up, I'm just going to go for the throat, and you're not going to be in position to respond appropriately. I mean, there was that, when Nerchio was kind of surrounded, and he had coming in from the bottom, coming in from the right, and from the top left, that's the type of thing where you're going to crush your opponent's army if he can't segment it off. But wow, yeah, I mean, that was just, honestly, that was beautifully played out of HasuObs, making sure to never let Nerchio actually engage.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's game number 1 in the bag. We're going to go to game number 2 here in just a second. Don't forget, these are all best of 3s. So 2 matches today. We have this one. We're going to follow it up with TLO versus Tamaga after that. We're going to run to a commercial break, though, and when we get back, it's time for game number 2.